Good morning. I want to welcome everybody to Lighthouse Recovery. I'm glad that you've decided to tune in, and if you're watching the video later, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to be able to join and watch what we've been filming here at Lighthouse Recovery. Today, we're kind of continuing our series on moral inventory, and we're wrapping that up today. I want to remind everybody that we've still been having Celebrate Recovery small groups from 7 to 8. Women meet at the church. Men are down at the House of Hope. Last week I announced that we would be having large group potentially the following week. We're going to push that back a couple of weeks, at least one more week. So it'll be not this Thursday, not the following Thursday, but maybe after that. As we wait to see how things go, as we work to have a safe environment for us to have a Celebrate Recovery in. And so I just wanted to bring that up real quick. But I'm going to jump into this. We're talking about step 4 as it's already the 5th month of the year. We're kind of running over on our staying with the months, but who cares? We'll just keep moving forward with this. Next week we will be talking about step 5. But step 4 is we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. And the scripture that goes with that verse or with that step and supports it is, let us examine our ways and test them, and let us return to the Lord, Lamentations 3:40. Step 4 is often dreaded, and many try to avoid it at all cost. The fact is, most of us do not want to actually look into our past objectively and truly examine our motives in life. There are many who will say, I have moved on from my past, and there is no reason to dig around in it anymore. Such a point of view is often founded in fear. Under closer scrutiny, one finds that things have not been neatly tucked away as they thought. The past hurts and past ill intentions and actions have actually just been buried like seeds. Buried seeds of pain grow into weeds that choke our lives, robbing us of peace, serenity, and freedom. We have to stop planting seeds of pain and remove the roots of the weeds. If the roots are allowed to exist, even the smallest part of them, they will regrow and continue to wreak havoc and dysfunction in our lives. If we are to be truly free of our hurts, our habits, and our hang-ups, some digging will have to be done. Rationalizing the past, complaining about our present, and fearing the future is how far too many people live. Those who live in this way are not moving forward on their road to recovery, their road in life, but actually they're just piling more and more garbage on their road that will later have to be removed if they desire to embrace the fullness of life that God created us to have. The truth is that many people will never look at what goes on in their life. They'll pile the garbage for the lifetime. And it's a sad thing when we don't realize the fullness and everything that God made us to be and to have within this life. In step 4, we start to explore those things in ourselves which have created our difficulties. It is much more of an adventure of self-disclosure through which growth occurs. It's not this painful, miserable experience that we often seem to think it is. It's my hopes that over the last couple weeks that we have dispelled that idea. But I'll be honest, though the first time we go through a 4th step, it's extremely difficult for us to see it as this amazing, wonderful growth experience. There's some pain around it. We struggle to see exactly what it's going to do for our lives in the long term. But that's okay. Many of us have stepped through that same fear, and that's why we do the program of recovery together. We have sponsors and accountability partners that we work the program of life of recovery together. So it's important at this point, I'm just going to remind you that if you are looking to start doing a 4th step, it's important that you have sponsors and accountability partners in your life to walk alongside you during this time. Because the 4th step is about examining our lives. It's about taking stock of them and getting rid of those things which have for so long blocked us from the sunlight of the Spirit. This is accomplished by conducting a moral inventory. Myself and scores of others have embarked upon this journey. And we find that it is selfishness and self-centeredness which has been manifested as fear and resentment that have created the largest barriers in our lives. We will explore these things in our moral inventory. I would like to take a minute here to discuss what it means in the 4th step when it says we made a searching and fearless moral inventory.
Moral
of our
inventory.
inside.
Moral
Whoa,
inventory.
Misty, what are you doing? I'm filming a live event here. This
That's
is
okay.
live.
I wanna
This-
be on live
you can't
too.
be. Come on, Misty. You were on stage all last week. Was that enough for you?
But
come
I
on,
know
come
about
on.
moral inventories.
Come on, no,
I want to be
Misty,
a part
sit down.
of
This
it.
is important
I want to
stuff.
be a part of it.
Quit trying to be the center of attention. Come on, Misty. Sorry about that. We're going to discuss about this moral inventory. The word moral is often misunderstood. Just a mention of it causes many to recoil as they are filled with preconceived notions. They fear that any conversation which includes the word will serve to judge and condemn them. Let's explore the definition of the word and what it means. We cannot take an inventory if we do not know what we are inventorying. The Celebrate Recovery lesson on the topic states the word moral simply means honest, which is true. Our inventory must be honest. But to completely understand the step, we must go further. If you were to Google the word moral, you would find definitions like concerned with the principles of right and wrong behavior, the goodness or badness of human character, high principles of proper conduct. With those definitions, one would have to ask is what is good, what is bad, what is right, and what is wrong? What is proper conduct anyways? Another definition of moral is concerned with or derived from the code of interpersonal behavior that is considered acceptable in a particular society. Which would then lead one to ask, so if society says it's okay, then it must be okay. And then I would have to point out that there's been societies who have practiced cannibalism and found that to be okay. So would that then be acceptable? I would say definitely not. Still, this definition, there is no clear understanding of moral. We can definitely conclude that moral and morals are closely related, and look at the definition of morals, which are defined as a person's standards of behaviors or beliefs concerning what is and is not acceptable for them to do. If I'm understanding this definition correctly, I could then choose anything to be acceptable or unacceptable. As long as I'm okay with it, it would be moral. Once again, this is still not what we are talking about, but slightly closer. This dilemma is precisely why the steps are done in order. In step 1, we realize that what we are doing is not working. If it was working, our lives wouldn't be unmanageable. We would live in constant peace and serenity. But I'm going to bet if you found your way to the rooms of recovery, that's not the case. In step 2, we realize that the solution is in a power greater than ourselves, God. That He has the power to do for us what we could not do for ourselves. In step 3, we make a decision to turn our will and our lives to His care. In step 4, we put this decision from step 3 into action by taking inventory and asking God to help us examine our past. Our moral inventory starts the process of examining our lives, every aspect of them, our thoughts, our actions, our emotions, everything, to bring them in harmony with God's plan for us. So moral, more accurately, could be defined, at least for the purpose of the 4th step, as a distinction between God's wills and ways for our lives and our own self-will. The Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous on page 64, when explaining the 4th step, states, when the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. In the 4th step inventory, we will work to remedy our spiritual malady by inventorying our lives and testing everything we have thought, said, or done to the test for God's will or self-will. By doing so, God resolves our difficulties. Step 4 is a process. This is not completed overnight, and it is not over and done with, but something that we continually live. We are as honest and thorough as we can be at the time. In a lifetime of recovery, you are likely to write several 4 steps, possibly in different ways each time. Things happen in life, and we find out new things about ourselves. So we end up back doing another 4 step. That is why we live the steps, and we work to grow spiritually each day. Over the last few weeks, we have discussed why we do the 4th step, how the 4th step works in our lives. I did a visual demonstration 2 weeks ago up here on stage of the impact and how kind of the show how the 4th step works. 3 weeks ago, I had several individuals come and share about how the 4th step had worked in their lives. If you missed any of those messages, they can be found on our Facebook page, on our YouTube page, and on the Lighthouse web page as well. And also the Lighthouse Recovery of Fargo Facebook page as well. And if you hadn't taken an opportunity to already like our Lighthouse Recovery of Fargo Facebook page, I'm going to invite you to do so. So today I'm going to talk about how exactly do we conduct a moral inventory. How do I do this on paper? And so I have done several different moral inventories through my recovery, and I'm going to cover just a few of them with you here today. The first one I'm going to talk to you about is an asset and liability moral inventory. There should be a slide of it up on your screen now. This is actually an inventory style that was introduced to me in a program called Back to Basics, which works out of a book that was written by Wally P. In that, it's an introduction to the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous in a 4-week format. At the time when we get to the 4th step and the 5th step, we do a miniature inventory. It serves well to show newcomers who are completely new to 12-step recovery and that the 4th step is completely foreign to, that it's not, the 4th step is not this big scary thing where it's all bad. On it, you'll write names of individuals that you have issues with across the top. And you'll actually fold the paper in half so that way the asset side column would not be shown. And that you would go through and you would ask yourself in each situation, whether it's a person, place, or thing that you have written across the top, was I resentful? Did I act in fear? Was there selfishness involved, dishonesty, false pride, jealousy, envy, or laziness? And as you go through each situation and person, you put check boxes in those that apply. And when you open it up to the asset side of it, you would now find that you have several check boxes in some areas and not so many in the others. And you would find that, you know what, there are a lot of areas that I'm going to grow a lot in the recovery journey. But there's other areas in life that I do pretty well at. So if you found that you had a ton of check boxes and resentments, you would find that in recovery, you will grow to become more grow in your ability to forgive. If you had almost no check boxes in the dishonest, you would find that you're already a pretty honest person. With this checklist, you are able to keep things balanced. You are also able to see that you are not all bad. There are many good things you have done in your life. And so this is a good way to start an introduction to a 4-step. The next one I'm going to talk about, and there should be a slide for this as well. Also tell you this right now is that all of these are available on our Facebook page to be printed. I actually did a post last night that has pictures of every one of these, so you would be able to print them. The next one is actually the Celebrate Recovery Inventory. By the time I had done a Celebrate Recovery Inventory, I had been in recovery for probably 6 or 7 years at that time. And what I found helpful about this inventory is that it's not as specific as some of the other ones. So if I've already done an inventory and I'm doing a annual or semi-annual house cleaning, the inventory works well because it's very broad. It's not specific to, say, a fear, a resentment, to a certain type of conduct. I can go through and I can do an annual house cleaning on it, and I can use the same form for pretty much every area of my life as I go through. And I've actually come to use this as pretty much an annual house cleaning, if you will. I'll talk about that a little bit later in my own recovery. Now, when you've started off your recovery journey and you've maybe done an asset and liability checklist, and your time to really dive into a 4-step inventory with your sponsor. There's another format that I like, and it's actually been introduced to me by many people in AA use this type of a format. And so you'll actually see a slide of it on there. The first one would be a resentment inventory. And some people have 3, some people have 4 inventories that they do. And on it you would see that you could put your names here on a resentment inventory, which there should be a slide up now for. And then you put the cause of your resentment. And then you have check boxes of what part of self was hurt or threatened. And then you have the last area, which is where was I to blame. And you can start to check boxes if you were dishonest, self-seeking, selfish, frightened, inconsiderate. And then you write down the exact nature of your wrong and where you were to blame in that last column. Now, for me, when my first time through, I had way too many and way too much going on to be able to put it all in these boxes and areas. So I needed to put it out on another sheet of paper, so I just used this as a reference and then actually filled it out in a notebook. The next column, or the next inventory that should be up on your screen, would be a fear inventory, and it works much the same as the resentment inventory. And you list all of your fears, fancied or real, because the truth is that a fear doesn't have to be valid, if you will, for it to dominate and control our lives. And so that's why it's so important for us to go through and look over what we fear in life. And you'll probably notice on closer examination of the resentment inventory that frightened is one of the check boxes. And so you'll end up realizing a lot of the actions and behaviors that you have in life are based upon fear. And when you check that box of frightened, it might be that there is a fear associated with that, which you would then inventory on your fear inventory. And what I like about the fear inventory on this sheet is that at the end of it, you go through your fears and there's a prayer. God, please remove my fear of blank and direct my attention towards what you would have me be. So we're taking our fears, we're surrendering them to God and letting God transform our fears into faith in Him, and so that we can move forward and no longer be crippled by those things in life. The last 4-step inventory that you'll see on your screen is probably one of the most feared, which is the sex conduct harm done to others. The truth is, a lot of people don't like to examine this inventory. Either one, they don't want to talk about such things. They don't feel that they should be discussed. They feel that they have no issue with it, or they have so many issues with it that they don't want to open up what they feel is Pandora's box. The truth is that for a moral inventory to be a moral inventory, it would be completely lacking if a sex conduct inventory was not done. And in that, you're not necessarily just going to have people on that inventory that you had sex with. It's actually an inventory of all of our sex conduct. It could be situations where you arouse jealousy or suspicion in somebody else's relationship, or where you were wildly flirtatious with somebody else and you were already in a relationship. It's to examine our conduct in these areas and get rid of the bad stock in trade. And remember that. It's all about us getting rid of what's not working and keeping what is and growing and developing new ways that will work even better. I'm going to take the time right now, and I'm actually going to go over how to work a 4th-step inventory, at least the resentment one. And you'll see here, I have up here on this board a large written out resentment inventory. And so what happens is I give this to a newcomer, like, go fill this out, and they're like, one of two things happen. They look at it and say, well, I don't have any resentments. I don't have anything like that whatsoever. And I tell them to think about it, because they probably have more than they can even fathom. It's just we don't want to look at them yet. The other one is that, oh, I have some resentments. Some people have really wronged me. Wait till I get to write down just how wrong I have been, what a victim I have been my whole life, and I'm going to show you how wrong I have been and how innocent I am. They don't really quite understand this column over here. Or you could be like me. I've been in recovery a long time. I do about an annual house cleaning, been through the steps many times. And you get this and you look at it, well, you know, I'm pretty good. I've been doing good. I don't have any resentments. Why would I have a resentment? Like, that's just nuts.
Aaron, I can't believe you just said that.
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
You were just complaining the other day about Sean and Misty's video where Sean was saying your teachings are boring, and Misty said that they're unemotional.
I wouldn't.
Well,
you know what? You're right. That's a good one.
Whatever.
I'm not at fault in that one. I'm not. That's all them. So let me get this on here. We got Sean and Misty. And if you didn't see the video, the detestable video that they made, I actually put a link onto it to another video that I made on our Lighthouse Recovery page, on the Facebook page. Why am I angry? He called my message boring. Misty said it was unemotional. So these would be what I would be putting here. And then I come over here to what part of self was hurt. And this is where I start to really dig in and evaluate, what did they do that hurt me so bad in these situations? What was hurt? My self-esteem? Well, yeah. They both hurt my self-esteem. Now, in a lot of instances, I wouldn't do two people together, but this was a one video where they tag teamed up on me to make me look bad in front of the entire world on Facebook. So I'm going to do those two together. And then what was hurt? My pride. Yes, my pride there, you know. I want to look good in front of people. My emotional security. Yeah. I mean, they're my friends. Their job is to build me up and make me look good, not make fun of me on Facebook. My pocketbook, not so much. My ambitions, yeah. They called my message boring when I have the ambition of being the best speaker in front of an empty church ever to exist, because it's so much fun to preach to nobody. And actually, I'm preaching to all of you guys out there, so I'm sorry about that. Don't get a resentment. My personal relations, well, yes, that was affected because I thought that they were my friends. I really did. Now I don't know about it. Now it comes to, where was I to blame? And this is where everybody wants to put, I wasn't. It was all them. But the truth is that's not how life is. This is going to require me to examine not just this one incident, but my entire relationship and actions and interactions with them. Relationship issues are probably the number one offender in our lives. That's why we actually, if you notice, it says the names of the people, institutions, principles who I am angry at, because those are all relational type of situations. And I start to look at this. Well, where was I to blame? Was I dishonest? No. Was I self-seeking? A little bit. Why? How was I self-seeking? It's because I only want them to produce stuff that props me up. I have this idea that it's other people's job to help me build self-esteem, and in that I am self-seeking. Am I selfish? Yes. Why? So I have to consider my entire relationship with them. And so when I look at these things, right, though it might be difficult to really look at, is, have I joked and been that way towards them ever? As I examine my relationship, yes, I have. And that's where we start to look at the whole thing, our whole life of relationship with them. Was I frightened? Yes, because in the time of I'm watching it, right, all of a sudden I think my messages are boring. They're not any good. Nobody's watching them. They're unemotional. And so then in that now, I am a little bit, there's something inside me that maybe says, you know what? Maybe they're right. And so now a fear comes up here, which if I was doing a fear inventory, I would take this fear from here and potentially put it on that fear inventory. Fear of rejection, fear of not being good, fear of my ambition of being the best speaker in front of an empty church that ever existed. Right there. Won't be met. And then I have to look at the exact nature of my wrongs and be specific. And as I review this relationship and I start to really think about it, how have I established our communication lines? How have I established this relationship? Well, I'm going to be honest. There was actually no resentment with this whatsoever, but it worked great to show you guys. But what I could say is, you know what? I established a joking relationship with them where we go back and forth at each other quite often. Now, I crossed lines? Have they crossed lines? In this situation, no. Is it possible? Yes, sometimes it can be. The truth is, as an alcoholic, an addict, or a person in recovery, I'm going to say actually as a member of the human race, we're often hypersensitive to life. We like things that build us up. We don't mind making jokes. We don't mind making spoofs about other people, but when it comes to us, we often get hurt easily. Truth is in that response video that I made, I actually put Sean and Misty together, and I said that Misty called it boring. In my slip of the tongue there, I could have actually created a resentment in Misty, because now I have actually projected the actions of another individual onto her. She called it unemotional. So if you make sure I got it right on this board for you guys today. So as we go through, we start to realize, we start to see the dynamic of our interactions with others and how it creates resentments, but it also creates havoc in those things. So there might be things later on in a 9th step that I would be looking to make amends for, and it would be to, am I opening up clear dialogue, communication with both of them about the nature of our joking in relationship, and are they okay with it? Honestly, the video was so heinous that I actually gave Misty rights to be able to put videos up on our CR or our Lighthouse recovery page on her own without me previewing them. So actually, in this case, I kind of liked it. So this would be how your first in-depth inventory might go. I want to speak real quickly, though, because I talked about that, how we do the annual inventory, semi-annual inventory, or first time through. But as we live out the steps and we live the program of recovery, we start to do spot check inventories. Spot check inventories is when I'm going through my day and hey Sean, I'm trying to video. Get out of here, man. You're making bad videos about me. Now I'm online, on air.
I have mangoes.
Live. Oh, mangoes, man. We haven't been able to have mangoes in like forever.
I know, right?
Oh, that's spot check inventory. I go through my day, I catch myself behaving in a way which does not conform to what I believe God's will and intention for my life is. I stop there and I take the time to make amends and tell Sean that I am sorry. I did not mean to behave that way towards him. I didn't mean to jump on him for that. He actually was just trying to do something nice and had no idea that I was in the middle of filming a live Lighthouse recovery video. And so, Sean, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to jump on you that way. It was inappropriate. I am trying to film a video, so can you wait and we'll eat mangoes later, but keep it warm.
Okay. I'm not sharing now.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Sean. And then the other type of inventory that we often do is an end of the day inventory. At the end of the day, I sit and I review my day. And it might be that you go hour by hour, moment by moment, interaction by interaction, or situation by situation through your mind or on paper, and you start to really look at my day. Did I behave in all instances in a loving, kind, caring, considerate way? Or was I ever selfish, self-centered? Was I ever frightened? Was I thinking about myself only? And this is a good time, so as I review my day and I think about it, you know what? I owe Misty an amends because she had no idea I was videoing either. And she jumped up excited to talk about moral, to talk about what she has learned in her recovery journey, and I shut her down. And then I said that she tried to be the center of attention all the time. So I would make note of these, and either right now or as soon as I can or next time I see her, I would apologize to her for my actions and so let her know that that is not right. That is not the type of relationship that I'm looking to build. And so that would be the use of the end of the day inventory. At this time, I'm going to invite Sean, Misty, and Dale to come up. And I want to thank you guys for all tuning in. This is kind of some of the Celebrate Recovery crew that can be together now. I am glad that you guys have tuned in. I want to remind you that we
why is my name
are
on
having... There? Whoa.
Why is my name on there?
Hey, quit looking at this. Quit looking. This might be a good time to remind you to keep your Celebrate Recovery or your recovery inventory in a safe spot. Keep your 4-step inventory in a safe spot. Why? Because even though a lot of people in your household probably respect what you are trying to do on your recovery journey, sometimes people see stuff and it's not good. And you never know, there might be little ones in your house or young ones in your house that don't realize what you're doing, and they can get the wrong impression and the wrong idea by reading your 4-step inventory. So as I was saying before I was so interrupted by this person seeing my inventory, no, but you will be shortly.
You're good.
I will need an extra sheet of paper for that one. So I want to remind you that we are still having small groups tonight, or actually Thursday night, for Celebrate Recovery small groups. Also, if you want to use a Zoom group, you can email Misty at Lighthouse Church Fargo to get involved with the women's small groups, or Aaron at lighthousechurchfargo.org for the men's small groups. Thank you very much, and I appreciate that you tuned in today.
Bye.
Bye.